RingVille episode, Amity Lavey. Hey everyone, how you doing? My name is Kevin Herrera Sanchez, KHS, and today it's a very special episode of RingVille. I have the pleasure of sitting down with the current Goddesses of War champion, remarkable women's champion, and two-time current New York Wrestling Connection Starlet champion, Amity Lavey. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you very much for taking the time and sitting down with me.
Of course.
One of the first things I wanted to ask you about is you've only been wrestling for 16 months.
Yeah, thanks for noticing.
You're welcome. Well, I didn't because you're so good.
Oh, well, thank you. Actually, I see what you mean by that. Yeah, I could see how it could kind of seem like I've been wrestling for a little bit longer because I'm just that good.
In those 16 months where it's like, did you pick up training very quickly?
So actually, believe it or not, I had a little bit of a slower start to my training. First of all, when I was first learning how to train, I hurt my toe. Okay. So I had to wait a little longer than I wanted to initially. Mm-hmm. I was going to start, and then I had to stop, and then I was going to start again. And then it picked up pretty easily. I have a gymnastics background as well as an amateur wrestling background also. Mm-hmm. So there was a couple of things that we learned at the very beginning, like chain, that kind of came easier to me. Yeah. And then we started to get into little things that I was a little bit more afraid to do.
Okay, like what?
Certain things with certain people, maybe if somebody's a little bigger, it's a little scarier for them to, to slam you and stuff like that when you're first learning. Learning how to bump is very scary. Just learning how to make sure that when you're taking those big moves, you're falling, as safely as you can, obviously. Those things were probably the mental game that kind of messed with me at first, yeah.
How much did your gymnastic background help?
It's helped a lot. Definitely flexibility, strength. Gymnastics is kind of a sport that covers pretty much kind of everything when it comes to just, your muscles and everything. Yeah. It's kind of an all-over workout. It uses your whole body to do the most simple of movements. Mm-hmm. Cartwheel kind of uses everything. You need your legs, you need your arms, your shoulders, your core. And it kind of gave me that advantage a little bit, as in certain conditionings maybe isn't so difficult. Okay. My cardio is a little bit, has always been a little bit stronger. Mm-hmm. I'd like to think at least. So it's definitely helped in those kind of ways. Plus my my moveset, my comfortability is a lot of my gymnastics type things, like my handsprings and stuff like that.
And then when you flip into the
exactly. Okay. It's all stuff I was able to do since I was 9.
Nice. Which helps, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So you trained at New York Wrestling Connection.
Yes.
How did you find that school?
So that was, I still currently, in there now. I train there 3 days a week. I found it because originally in high school, I had looked into the world of professional wrestling and kind of wanted to get into it. I had no idea what indie was. I had no, I just knew WWE from TV. Yeah. And even at that time, I wasn't even really watching it. It was kind of just an idea that was in my brain.
Oh, so you just wanted to do it?
I just wanted to do it, yeah. I watched it at that point. I watched it a little bit before that, and then I kind of lost interest as I got a little bit older in high school. And, it wasn't as accepted as it is now, to say that you're a wrestling fan.
Yeah. It's like, ooh.
It was like people are like, ew. Like,
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Because at times too, where it's like you don't even say it, where it's like wrestling.
Yeah, people are like, ugh, gross. So I kind of stopped after a while, but then I, kind of just, it was one of those just scrolling at night kind of things on your phone, and I found it, was interested, saw the roster, looked at people, and was like, oh, that's kind of cool. 10 years later, I had the idea of starting, and it was the first place that popped in my head. And I looked at the roster again, looked at the website. Some of the people were the same. It's kind of cool. Cool. People I remembered, I was like, oh shoot, like I remember that person. I remember these names, some other starlets from, years and years ago, before me. And, some familiar faces, even, my trainers and stuff like that I saw in there. And then, so I immediately felt a connection to that place. I guess that's why they call it New York Wrestling Connection.
That's good.
I don't know.
Right, because the trainers there are Mike Mondo, Dickie Roz, and Michael Mastretta. Yeah,
so Mike Mondo, he's down in Florida currently, right now. I believe he's one of the trainers for FTW. Okay. Which is I think it's a developmental brand off of NWA, I believe. I might be wrong. But I believe he's working down there with them because he's been doing work closely with NWA a little bit more. So he's kind of back on the road. Gotcha. So currently right now our main trainers have been Dickie Roz, Michael Mistretta has always been he was actually my first trainer.
Oh, nice.
The first day I showed up, he was the first guy I saw. And then kind of fillers, we have Rex Lawless, who's been helping us a lot lately. And then Joey Conway also fills in.
Right. So what is it like getting just like, maybe not even just advice, but just kind of training from people who've like been in the industry for such a long time?
So Mondo is somebody that we all, we miss him so much. Like we're getting, our training is amazing. It's great. Mondo saw it in a completely different way. He broke down everything in ways that you wouldn't even think about. Like that man is just, he's an encyclopedia of wrestling. Yeah. He knows pretty much everything. If you want a good trainer, he's the best person to find.
Oh, nice.
For sure. So it was he knew everything, and he had such a passion that I feel like you can only really get from somebody who, especially the experience, has been up there, has wrestled people as great as DX.
Right.
It's
right, because former WWE superstar.
Yeah, exactly. He's a former tag team champion. So it's kind of cool to get to learn from that.
And it's one of those things too, where it's like, if he knows so much, you can just go to it for anything.
Absolutely, yeah. We could ask him character questions. We could ask him, help with our promos, our ring stuff, our everything. Even personally, he's just a really nice guy.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Is there something that has stuck with you that he has told you?
I mean, most of my basics have definitely been, a lot of the stuff that I learned at the very, very beginning. My good habits have been a lot of things that I learned from him. Mainly just the importance of staying, really just like staying on track and keeping your mind healthy, but at the same time not losing the drive. Because if somebody had the most drive out of anybody, it's Mike Mondo. Okay. But he kind of, tried to keep us at bay a little bit more with keeping us calm and not letting us stress out, and it was nice.
Nice, that is nice.
Yeah, it was a nice type of touch he had, yeah.
In your 16 months of training and wrestling, like something that has changed is your overall look.
Yes.
What was the process like in the evolution of like going from, I would say, how would you describe your first look?
So what people liked to call me was the cheerleader, but it never worked. It didn't work. It was something that, an idea that it was like, oh, she flips. Let's do this. This is what you are now.
Yeah.
And it didn't work for me. It just wasn't.
It's not like.
I was a little, mouthpiece for a little while on the side, and it wasn't.
You like.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. It didn't work.
So when you realized it didn't work, when did this more, I want to say gothic character start coming into?
So I am actually going to one of my, how can I word this? One of my other trainers, Dickie Rods, that you also mentioned, something that I had learned from him originally was be the person who is the best extension off of yourself. Okay. Now, when I tell people that, when I describe myself, they're like, oh, okay. That's nice. You kill people, okay. So it's fine. Anyway, so that's kind of where that came from. I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to be me, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what it's developed into.
And it's been working.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have 3 belts?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Come on. And then, am I wrong? Please correct me. Did you win a title in your first match?
I did. In fact, I did. Yes, my first NYWC main show, our monthly show, I beat Little Mean Kathleen for the Starlet Championship.
So it's like, what's it like winning a title in your like debut match for a company?
Scary. But again, after that, nobody was able to touch me for quite some time. It took a while to get that thing off of me. So I guess it was just one of those things that was meant to happen.
Right. Because like coming in and just winning a title, that must be like a huge confidence boost where it's like, oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah, yeah. And I know the first time people are actually really seeing me, it's pretty nice.
That's true.
Yeah.
You started watching wrestling in the Attitude Era, right?
I did, yes, yeah. Or I would say earlier, roughly around there, maybe around 2000 years, maybe 2005, 2005 to 2009.
Okay,
Roughly.
so that's probably, that's like ruthless aggression.
Yeah, that's kind of like where most of my knowledge is. Gotcha. I do know little bits and pieces, but I've had to kind of dive back and, do my own research.
And you've mentioned that The Undertaker is one of your favorites.
Absolutely.
How come?
Absolutely. He actually was the first person that I ever saw when I started watching wrestling.
Oh, really?
My first ever match, I don't remember exactly which match it was, but it was an Undertaker match that I just turned on the TV and I saw it and I was just hooked immediately. Nice. And then I found out that at the time, one of my childhood best friends also watched The Undertaker on TV. And I was like, holy shit, this is so sick. So then it just became we both just she had a shirt and stuff like that. Cool. It was just something that we just had that common connection together with, and he just was my favorite. From there, I always love the, I would say I always lean a little bit more towards the heels, but I always like any of the dark characters. So I was always most interested in Taker, Kane, all of those darker, scary guys. Yeah. It's like, that's why that's the reaction that I look for when I come out, is I want people to be like, scared.
It's like, don't get me wrong, and I say this in the best possible way, it happens. Like, I've seen.
There you
go. Holy shit.
My job is done. I can retire happy.
And then another big inspiration that I picked up on watching you wrestle was you used the Widow's Peak.
Indeed.
And paying respect to Victoria?
Of course.
How much of an influence was she on
you? Huge. When it came to, obviously, like we said, Taker was my favorite. But watching women's wrestling, especially going back and watching women's wrestling and trying to when I was initially trying to get inspired and everything like that, she was always somebody that I loved back in the day also. And her with the Widow's Peak, it's so devastating. I was like, what is something so cool and unique that you don't see people do. And then now I always try to keep that same respect for the move that they do in WWE. As last time I heard, the Widow's Peak was like one of the most protected finishers in WWE.
It's rarely kicked. Yes. It was rarely kicked out.
Yeah, it was very. They didn't really. Not a lot of women came up from that. Yeah. So that was one that I was like, that one. I'm strong enough.
And so that's a mindset you try to keep on, where it's like, if you're not winning, you're not hitting.
No.
Yep. I think, who was it? Razor Ramon said the same thing, where it's like, I'm not hitting my finisher if I'm not.
No. Why would I do that? Why would I bury myself like that?
Yeah, exactly. Changing topics a little bit. You're with a group called the Devoult.
I am.
With Anthony Gangone and Aaron Rojas. You mentioned before that they kind of intruded on you, where it's like they were annoying at first. But what led you to kind of be welcomed in?
So they saw something in me. I'm not too sure what it was, but now that I know them both very well personally, I see their message. Okay. And I decided that it aligns very well with my morals. And Anthony Gangone and I think very similar.
I mean, I've seen them live. They're not the best of people, but that's okay, right?
Yeah. Next question.
Next question. You're also in another group. It's Daughters of Darkness.
Yes.
With Salem and Mother Endless.
Yes.
What's the relationship there?
I would say it's probably very similar. So Mother Endless, again, she has a mission. She has a plan. And she chose personally, Salem and I, to be under her wing. Okay. And we are taking in as much from her as we can.
What would you say her mission is?
Probably something I can't tell you.
That's fair. Yes. That's fair. Going back to Titan Championship Wrestling, you've been having issues with Tiffany Avatar. Where did that stem from?
Titan, where do you think?
How about the personal issues?
So I debuted in Titan back, I believe, in January, and I wrestled Marie Valdemina. Now, I did not beat Marie, but Tiffany felt like she needed to come out and save me.
Okay.
She made the big mistake of thinking that I was somebody who needed her to save me. And that's not the case. And I've proven that now every single time her and I have gotten in the ring. I didn't need her help, and I felt very disrespected that she thought that I did.
What's one match of yours that people should watch where they can get a really good understanding of who you are in and outside of the ring?
I would say I probably have two that are probably pretty good. I would say any of my matches with the notorious Mimi. Mimi and I, anytime her and I have wrestled, it's been a good, mix. Yeah. And she, for some reason, just pisses me off and brings it out in me. Mm-hmm. So I would say our match from our NYWC show in August, Hotter Than Hell, mm-hmm. is when her and I had, I would say, is the best match to really get an idea.
Okay. And what about that match do you think says okay, this is who I am in the
mm-hmm.
ring?
The way I interacted, the way the fans got me very angry, and mm-hmm. I did make somebody cry.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you feel good?
Yeah.
Nice.
Felt great.
Nice. And then last question.
Yeah.
What's one of your accomplishments in wrestling that you can look back and say, oh, I am really proud of this?
Just my belts.
Your belts?
That speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's really much more that I have to really say. But besides that, the chance to wrestle on Exodus, which is another NWA developmental, promotion company out of Cleveland.
Okay.
So I was able to, did a tryout and I was chosen from there to wrestle their now Exodus Women's Champion.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. So belts and then performing acts.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for sitting down with me.
Yeah,
I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Anything you would want to say to the cameras, plug social media, merch, or anything?
No.
Fair. All right, everyone. Until next time, we out.